All right, Indiana Governor Mike Pence joins me right now. The governor has been closely watching not only what's been going on with health care. Of course, he has not accepted an exchange in his state. There's some controversy about that within his state. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But in the meantime, he's been equating what's been going on there with the problems we're seeing very much alive and well with this whole Veterans Agency debacle that seems to get worse by the minute. The good governor joining us right now, Mike Pence. Governor, thank you very much for joining us.
You bet, Neil. Thank you.
First things first, I mean, beware big government, I guess, with this Veterans Agency, apocryphal with what's happening now with Obamacare, isn't it?
Well, it's just a real heartbreak. I just came from a Memorial Day service here in Indianapolis. You know, we have a big race in Indiana this weekend every year, but the most important thing here is remembering those who served and fallen and their families, and to see what's happening in the VA and these hospitals around the country is deeply troubling to families across Indiana. We need to see this administration taking more energetic steps to deal with these failings, to get to the bottom of it. But to your point, it is certainly no endorsement of government-run health care in America. And while there are many VA hospitals, including here in Indiana, that do a fine job, it tells us we ought to be pulling back from the government takeover of health care enshrined in Obamacare.
Now, you know what, I know you are against big government and all that, and you had a lot of conservatives scratching their head, Governor, when, well, you rejected Obamacare and setting up an exchange to the president's liking in your state. You did take the money that would provide for Medicaid expansion in your state. And a lot of your critics immediately said, including Slate, Mike Pence betrays America, expands health care coverage. The Washington Post writes that Indiana's Governor Mike Pence is taking the Obamacare money and running with it. And others saying essentially what you're doing, like Salon, is the right starting to fold on Obamacare by you forcing having your cake and eating it too. Your chance to clarify what you did and why you did it.
Well, from the outset, we've been saying no to Obamacare here in the state of Indiana. You remember, Neil, I was one of the leading voices during my time in Congress against the Affordable Care Act. And so from the outset of our administration, we said no to a state-based exchange, and we ruled out expanding traditional Medicaid. I think traditional Medicaid is a deeply flawed system. It's bureaucratic. It ill-serves people that are enrolled in it. In fact, there's recent studies that show that people that are on Medicaid have no better health outcomes than people that have no coverage at all. That being said, we still have about 350,000 people in Indiana that fall within that coverage gap. And the good news is here in Indiana, for the better part of the last 6 years, we've had a better plan. It's called the Healthy Indiana Plan, where we've extended health savings accounts and consumer-driven health care to people within the Medicaid population. And, Neil, it's been unambiguously successful. The health outcomes have been positive. People have been moving into preventative care. We've been moving people out of emergency rooms into primary care. And so for Indiana to have the opportunity to expand this tremendously successful program and reform Medicaid by expanding the Healthy Indiana Plan, I thought was the right idea. It's right for Indiana.
You know what your critics will say.
Work for real reform.
I understand where you're coming from, Governor. I think what the critic is saying, though, is that any association with even the monies from Obamacare soils you in the eyes of the National Republican Party and maybe hurts your presidential prospects if they were ever to come to pass. Disavow them of that notion.
Well, look, I said at a speech in Washington and here in Indiana a week or so back, I think we've got to be solutions conservatives in this country. And I think we need to repeal Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel. But we need to reform Medicaid. And Indiana, starting 6 years ago, introduced the most advanced consumer-driven health care reforms in Medicaid in America. And it's been an incredible success. And I frankly think by reforming Medicaid, by dealing with working people, that, you know, for a family of four making less than $33,000 a year, for people that are just getting started on the ladder of success, creating a pathway where they can take greater ownership of their own health care decisions, including in our plan, Neil, we essentially create a premium assistance program in the Healthy Indiana Plan where people would be able to use those dollars to buy private insurance through their employer or have a health savings account. This is the kind of solutions that I think conservatives need to be willing to embrace.
Okay.
We'll let the debate and the definitions in Washington go forward. We're going to solve problems with conservative principles right here in Indiana.
Governor, thank you very much. Very good seeing you again. Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana, making some waves nationally. When we come back.